All right, well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first meeting for Waynesboro Area School District Board of Directors for the year 2023. Today is January the 10th. Let's start with the pledge. Please stand with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and Happy New Year, everyone. Let's get started here. Let's start with, everyone's here, we won't do roll call. Can we get a motion for approval of the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And now for the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Can we get a motion?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, any questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And so now we'll move to our superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith. I'd like to take the time right now to and ask for a moment of silence. We lost two of our students over the last few weeks, a student at WASD and also one of our Franklin Learning Center students. So we'd like to ask that we do a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. One other thing, I just want to thank the special ed department. Mrs. Heidi Shaw did a presentation for Rotary today of the special ed department and some of the things that they're doing with careers and other things. I thought Heidi did a super job. She really represented the district well. So I just wanted to say thank you to her and to the department. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Klein. Any public comment tonight? Okay, thank you. We'll move on then to presentations and we'll start with Counselors 339 plan.
So we are going to discuss that we developed as a department. The chapter 339 plan basically focuses on career education for our learners in our district. The first and last plan that we had back in our current 339 plan has several different revisions since 20 counselors, different ratios, and lastly, our current 339 plan is the most updated template that we received. That it follows the guidelines. For the purpose, it is basically a mandate for counselors to create a plan for career for our learners in our district. One of the biggest takeaways is from point 2, with our 4 different concepts. Components, I should state, which are career awareness, career acquisition, career return to independent entrepreneurship. Those main components represent our career work standards that we want. When going through the 339 plan, we have them organized by concepts. So the first concept that you will come across is the counselor names, our ratios, and our locations of which counselors located. Each elementary has their own counselor. WAMS has 3 counselors per grade level. The high school has 4 counselors per grade level and a counselor that oversees our online learning. One of the other components is noted on our previous slide was the ASCA that we should have a ratio of about 250. In our next slide, it is noted that we don't quite have that 250 ratio. Each building for the elementary has their own counselor, and some of those are at over 500. And WAMS and the high school level also has help that don't quite meet that 250. In addition, we also included our alternative ed. So we have Susie DeLarno and Jeremy, who work with our Inspire students in high school. In addition, we have Mr. Hoffman, Kyle Hoffman, that helps with our juniors and seniors with college and career planning. In concept 2, it will give you an overview of counselor roles. Each counselor, as we know, our roles tend to change depending on the situation. So these are just a good highlight of what at our counselor. Concept 3 provides a job description of each counselor, elementary and secondary. One thing that makes this a little bit different is our chapter 339 plan descriptions. Our evaluations are based.
Okay, concept 4 is just Greensboro Area School District. And then our school. Next concept 5, each level did a task and analysis. We looked at 1 week of what we averaged. And what we really noticed, and that is we do a lot of responsive surveys, which really gave us time to kind of reflect on maybe proactive strategies that our students. Concept 6. This was where we really organized all of our duties. We really looked at different tiers, tier 1, tier 2, and then non-counseling really. Those duties that we do to so that just reflects the curriculum action plan. We really updated from 2017. We spent a lot of time really cleaning that up and really to address all the needs of the whole child. We really do a lot of collaboration with the specialists, what we teach in our counseling curriculum, and then what classroom teachers also teach. And I just made sure we had all of those together. And then we also have SMART goals for all 3 levels. Academic goals, we really based on attendance. I'm really focusing on that after COVID-19 and the pandemic, and really have SMART goals related to that. Career ties in our SMART futures that we're using on every level. And then our personal and social goals, we really focus on the small group across all 3 levels.
Oh, I just want to start my section by saying, like, I know this is a lot of information and have access to the electronic version of. If you have questions, please feel free to ask. It's overwhelming for us sometimes to put all this on paper because we show up every day and we do what's in front of us. But this helps us to sort of organize it and take a step back and reflect. So concept 9 is the process and portfolio. This is where we take a look at each grade level, grade by grade. What are we doing to meet the career standard? Awareness acquisition, which amazingly can be done at the 1st grade level as well as at the 12th grade level. And then our academic and career plan process. So this is where we start to really look at what are we doing once they start to get on their way out the door to help them have a plan in place. And so one of the documents that we created as a result of this is our career portfolio. We sort of modeled it after some of the other districts and what they were including in their plans. So the career portfolio, and I don't know if you're able to click on that link.
I tried, but it said access denied, so.
So it basically just outlines, beginning in 6th grade, what are students doing from year to year to document the activities that they're doing that are related to becoming a career, exploring their interests, that kind of thing. And then it also at the high school level So that's a separate step to look at what courses they're taking that will relate to that. So our goal is to have every student beginning in sixth grade to begin to have this document. And we're not quite sure yet if that's going to be electronic. I think that's ideal if they don't get lost. But actually figuring out how that's going to look is probably something we're going to like iron out by the end of this year. Concept 10, we have a lot of stakeholders for our department, just as we do for the district. So one thing we noted is what we do is impacted by all of these stakeholders, primarily our learners, but also what we do impacts the stakeholders. So we really want to take them into consideration with every aspect of this. Concept 11 is an advisory council. They encourage, well, part of what's required with the 339 plan is to have an advisory council that meets twice a year. Full disclosure, we have not had that. It has not happened. We'd like it to. I think now that our department has some new leadership, I think we're encouraged and we'll be able to meet more regularly as an entire district department and get this in place. So our first goal is to have that in place by our first meeting on April 17th of this year. We'd love board members to be a part of that. So if you're in. I participate on the advisory council for the career tech centers. 339 plan. It's really just a good opportunity for them to have people on the outside take a look at what they're doing and offer them some valuable feedback. Love to have that from for our district as well. Concept 12 is looking at post-secondary options and sort of putting them out there for students. I think one thing to note is that we've really made a concerted effort over the past few years, particularly at the high school level, but all grade levels, to make sure students know that a four-year college degree is not their only option. We felt like for a while that was really the thing that was being pushed, probably nationally that was being pushed. And we felt like we were doing a disservice to our students to not let them know there's a whole lot more out there and make them aware of what those options are. So that's what concept 12 addresses. And then the last one, concept 13, career and tech center strategies. That's pretty simple. They just give us their strategies and we include them in our plan. So for them, they just present them to us, and all schools like that serve or that work with the Franklin County Career Tech Center have the same career tech center strategies for their concept 13. And that's what we do. So that's how these ready plans. And any of us are happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Thank
When
you
it gets
all.
closer
Yes.
to that meeting on April 17th, you'll let us know where and what time and all that.
And have an agenda.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions? Quick question. You all run small groups. What type of groups do you all run in various schools?
Kind of varies based on the need. So
Come to the mic.
it's based on the needs that we're finding. So it may be groups that focus on anxiety, maybe groups that focus on anger management, study skills, social skills. So I know speaking for the middle school level, like we cover a wide range of things. It's challenging to be able to get kids together at the same time, and even find space for it, to be honest.
Right.
But I think we all do job of covering what we can with more efficient, really helpful for kids, that kind of stuff.
How are they chosen? How are the students chosen?
Sometimes we'll consult with teachers and ask them for recommendations of names. A lot of times it's just based on what we're seeing in our office, or even what administrators are sharing with us, what they're seeing. So someone's in ISS once a week, that's possibly someone for an anger management group. So we sort of like to get input from everybody. We don't like to think that we know all the students better than anyone else. So we definitely ask for input.
Okay, thank you. And I know we had your names listed, but could you state your names and what school you representing? Just
Camp
for-
Show, I'm at the middle school and I am starting year 20.
Okay, thank you. And the other?
I'm at Mallory and
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you all. All right. And next, we have a presentation from McClure.
They don't want to stay. They don't want to stay.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you.
I already had one upstairs.
They're in for me.
So good evening. My name is Mark Alec and I represent McClure Company. And we've been working with the district now for a little bit to address some of the issues that you're having in your buildings. With me tonight is Doug Boswell. He's one of our mechanical engineers. He helped put this project together. Gentleman that wasn't able to be with us is Chris Stoltz, that you can see on the screen there. Also an engineer, also integrally a part of the development of this project. What we're going to talk about in this presentation, and have to apologize, I actually inadvertently said Eric for the report docs presentation I went over with him in December. Same information, I just moved slide. And I'll let you know when I get to that point a little bit. What we're providing in this presentation really is a scope of work that addresses a lot of the issues. We've been working on it for a little over 2 months. We're to the previous scope as well as pricing and really that'll address a lot of these issues. I have some support here with Doug, so if you do have questions, you'd like to go through this, please feel free to stop me. We can continue to be able to answer a lot of the different questions you might have. A little bit about McClure. We are a Pennsylvania-based company. We've been doing this work since the legislation. This work. Historically, we're a mechanical contractor. We've grown from there. We have 15 professional engineers, that being one of them. We have 8 certified energy managers, 6 lead accredited professionals, and 32 project managers. This type of work that we're here to talk about today, we do approximately $100 million worth of this work in August all over Pennsylvania. We've gotten pretty good at it. So that's as much as you're going to hear about McClure. We often don't like to talk about ourselves. What we want to do is talk about you and your school districts. So this is the slide that I actually moved up in the presentation, and this in the handout that I made you is our 4-step process that we do as we go through these projects. Step 1 is what we call the scoping audit, where we do a lot of budgetary work, kind of give you an idea what the different costs are for the project. Step 2 is the investment grade audit, which is essentially where we're at. That's where we provide you with final scope, final pricing for your project so that you can make decisions in what you. From here, we're going to ask the school district to give us feedback on what they would like to see as a part of this project. So in this presentation, you're going to see lots of options. There's several different options for each different issue that we've heard about in the schools. And in this presentation, it should give you enough information to decision on which way you would like to go. From there, we move into what's called the contract phase. That's step 3, the final design. That's where we do all the final engineering and we mobilize for construction. A little step in between that final construction, but he understands the issues that have been going on in the market with times and with supply chain issues. You're still experiencing that. One of the items we're going to talk about in here is specifically HVAC at Mallory. Some of that equipment still has lead times north of 30 weeks. The math on there's some urgency to get if HVAC is something the school wants to invest in that school. We're going to get that underway so that equipment can be ordered, but have it in time for the summer. So in step 3, we're doing the final engineering, final design, and on lead item. There are still some supply chain disruptions and then step 4 is construction. That's where we really shine. We've been a construction company since the 50s. 99% of our work is done over the summer months from the time the kids leave to the time the kids return. That's our intent here. But again, the rooftop units are
one of those items that's still a little bit of a wild card in. So I'm going to move on and start to talk about the scope of work. We're going to talk first about Maori. Maori, some of the conditions, existing conditions in Maori, there isn't a good source of ventilation for that building. All of these buildings have to bring in a certain amount of outdoor air to make them healthy. Maori does that, but what it doesn't do is doesn't allow that air to leave out well out of the building. That's one of the issues, and what it's causing is temperature and humidity issues throughout the building. Additionally, the hallways and the pod areas aren't conditioned. So what we did is we looked at those two issues and we came up with a solutions actually to address those. The first one is to essentially provide a ventilation path for those pods and hallways, as well as provide some kind of temperature. What that'll do is alleviate a lot of the having that built. That's our base upgrade option that we provided in slide 5 that you're looking. Additionally, or the alternative scope of work kind of goes a step further, that we also provide some air, some ventilation air quality, air temperature control classrooms as well. Provided those really these are cost driven, so you'll see where one of these items will have a cost associated. Fact is to the. Are there questions about the HVAC? So the next item we were asked to look at was the roof on Maori. So you have what's called a ballasted roof. Those pictures, that's that stoned roof building. No longer under warranty and it's starting to experience. We actually looked at off of that roof and putting in new insulation. Rubber roof. I'll just pause. If you have questions, please feel free to jump in. And M3, this is an item that we heard as we were doing some of the surveys. Maori, the carpeting that's starting to show its age. On top of that, carpeting in school affect the indoor air quality. So they're a great source that holds moisture. What we actually did is we looked at removing the carpeting, reinstalling new carpeting in 4 or 5 areas. And the room numbers are listed there, as well as the reading pit that's in that building. But then what we were looking to do is various vinyl panel flooring that would go into that building. So you would have a vinyl flooring and carpeting. And ECM4, rest this building. So what this was, and we did a couple different versions of this as well. The base is essentially cooling the areas that you can see on the floor plan that's provided. Areas in green would get new units by condition basis. The alternative scope was more of a more holistic option that provide mechanical ventilation to the building. So both of those options would provide some conditioning to the thing. Again, both options are kind of based on costs. So the base option is a lesser cost option. The alternative option is more comprehensive upgrade of the system. We also looked at adding an emergency generator to this building. There is we're looking at downsizing this generator. This generator that we currently have in here, size to carry the whole building, should looking at providing a much smaller generator that would be circuitry that. So this is the one item that we're still working on bringing the price down. Smaller generator obviously would make the cost of that piece number, that item less. Currently working through that right now. We should have that in the next couple of days. PM6 is at slide 10. Is windows indoors at Fairview. So we did a couple different options here as well. ECM6 is On slide 10 is essentially replacing all the windows and doors in that building. The existing windows are single pane windows. There's also some infiltration issues going on in the windows in the bridges in the lower level of the building. So what we looked at is replacing all those windows, all those doors in that building. That's kind of the high end of that ECM for that building. The next slide, ECM 6A, actually only addresses the windows. So we took the doors out because the doors potentially could have some life left in them. So as a lower cost option, we looked at only doing the windows. So those would be thermally broken aluminum windows that they would be replaced with double pane windows, more modern energy efficient windows for that building. ECM 7 was meant to address some of the fascia panels on Fairview Elementary School. So the fascia panels are the kind of the brown panels at the top of the building. Those are original to the building and they're starting to corrode. They're starting to show signs of their age. They're becoming discolored. They're also allowing some water infiltration into the building. We looked at, again, two different options with this. We looked at doing a holistic replacement of that fascia panel around the entire building. And then the second option that we did for that, which is listed as 7A on slide 13, we looked at only upgrading the panels that face the road to more address some of the aesthetics of that building. And as you'll see in that last slide, there is a substantial cost difference between the two options. Then from there, we're moving to Summit View. Slide 14. This with ECM is similar to the previous ECM, which was the windows and doors. So what we looked at for ECM 8 was replacing all of the windows and doors in Summit View. Again, with more energy efficient dual pane aluminum framed windows. ECM 8A again drops back to only address the windows, not the doors. Again, to give the school district some options and what they wanted to do with the school district or with the project. Summit View also has the fascia panels and they are of similar age and they are experiencing the same issues. So they are starting to corrode. Now these at Summit View, we're able to try to refurbish the panels. So what we did in ECM 9A, we actually tried to refurbish and clean up the panels over there and paint them. Still going to have the older panels, so it's still going to be an issue, and it also doesn't address the entire building. It's only the street facing. So again, ranges we gave you just for your evaluation so that you can determine. And then ECM 10 was roofing at Hooverville, excuse me, elementary. So again, this is a ballasted roof. It's no longer under warranty and there's experiencing leaks. Similar scope, we're going to tear that roof off down to the deck, new insulation, new EPDM roof on that building. Then the one item that we had at the high school was to add some data room cooling. That's going to provide a standalone system for your data systems so that you don't overheat those rooms where your data systems are. So that would be a standalone unit that would cool that space because they are spaces that have a high heat load in them. And those are the major scope items that we looked at. Are there any questions on the scope? Now, probably what you've all been waiting for. So on slide 20 is a breakdown of each item that we designed for you, and along with each item, a cost for those ECMs. This can be modified to, again, however you see fit and however you want to evaluate this based on criticality or based on cost or however you want to evaluate those. We are available to help, kind of provide our input should you need it, and answer any questions to this. This provides you essentially with all the costs that you would have to do these projects. So these projects are turnkey projects to get these done. What I would ask, so we talked about the rooftop units and the long lead item rooftop units, the 30-week lead time rooftop units. You have a facility committee meeting coming up, I guess, next week on the 17th.
We would really like to have some kind of direction, if this is something you want to consider for the coming summer, on what that scope looks like, so that we can fully define what the savings would be associated with those when we have final scope. And then work into, on the 24th, providing a contract with the final savings associated with them. You have the costs in front of you. Final savings associated with them, really to address getting those HVAC for Maori, the rooftop units ordered, because that's unfortunately the critical path for this project, is to get those pieces of equipment. We have them in time. So with that, I'll answer any questions you might have, or I did such a good job that you don't have any questions. Yes.
You may have said this, and did I apologize? Are these listed in order of priority?
They're not. No, they were kind of by school.
Okay,
Yeah, they're not by priority.
so are you establishing that for the facility committee, or is the facilities committee making that decision? What would come first?
Some of them I'm sorry. I was gonna say, some of them we've already talked about. You know, the Hooverville issues, we've talked about quite a bit. I don't know whether, I would assume, Eric, you have a priority. Do you have a priority list?
I think we kind of do have some ideas.
Yeah.
of priorities. I mean, we have a limited amount of funds, with so much ESSER funds to use. I think framework, and probably try to do items to each building when possible. So I think one spreading the funds was something I did hear at one conversation. That way, we were not favoring one building and putting all of them.
It's
The guarantee is for 20
Oh, the
years.
guarantee, I'm sorry.
The
The
guarantee.
guarantee.
Oh,
Yes, I'm sorry.
yes.
Yeah, the keys aside.
Yes, yeah. So all of this, once we establish the energy savings based on the scope of work, it is guaranteed for 20 years. What that means is we will measure and verify the savings of what we calculate. It's a 3-step process. If we don't make those savings in the first year, we have the opportunity to come in and fix what's not working properly. Step 2 of that is we do additional upgrades on our dime to increase the amount of savings. And then the third option is we actually write a check for the difference escalated over the 20 years. So that's part of the legislation.
I think locally, we've seen it.
Mhm.
Exactly. as planned. And you came in.
We did,
Which is-
we did actually, Greencastle down the road. We did a project. The compelling reason to do the project was a humidity issue in their high school. And 99% of the time that's HVAC related. We did the project. There was still lingering humidity problems. Come to find out, when they did a renovation, I think a little over 20 years ago, the building construction technologies at the time didn't have the building envelope sealed up the way it should have been. So we actually went back in and addressed that envelope issue. My knowledge, since then, the humidity issues have gone away. So, and we did that on our dime.
Could you tell me the age of the elementary school buildings?
For here,
Yes.
they are.
In building grade for the equipment.
Well, actually, when that equipment would have been installed, like when would the windows have been
The windows were original to the building.
Okay, which
Yeah.
would mean I'd like to know when those buildings were built.
Yeah,
I think that'd be,
that-
71 or 17, 1975.
It's a long time.
Mm,
Single pane windows.
You're looking at a little over
75.
45 to 50.
We should see savings.
You would see some
Cooling
savings.
costs.
The biggest, so you would, it's certainly not going to overcome the cost of windows. Windows are expensive. More, well, what you'll feel is not measurable. So if those, put on those next to those windows, you won't feel that cold radiating from them. But yeah, there will be an impact to the HVAC as well.
Just clarification for the board. What they presented is a bigger scope than what we will probably do.
Yeah.
And so you're more than welcome to come to facilities committee meetings. They're very rigorous and exciting.
yeah.
Um, part of which is this right here. So that a lot of that, what you're looking at here, don't panic at that big number.
Okay.
Because that is a large number, but part of what we're gonna do at the committee is whittle that down into more specifics.
The other thing I did mention, Doug just wanted me to, right, I mentioned it again, is that the roofing that we would do on those two buildings would have a 20-year warranty, so through the manufacturer, so. You would be covered for the 20 years after that. Since
Okay.
my contact information is in there. If you do think of questions, please feel free to shoot me questions.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallant. Yes. Okay, let's keep it moving. Let's go to board reports.
Budget met yesterday. We are still very much in the beginning of the budget process. I will say we are very encouraged at the preliminary numbers. One of the challenges with any school budget is you don't know what you're going to get from the state until several months down the road. And oftentimes we have to approve our budget before we actually know what we're getting from the state. And especially true this year, because since it is an election year and there is a new governor that was inaugurated in January, that pushes his timeline back a month. And so that means we're not going to get real numbers until later in the process, but preliminary numbers are very encouraging, I'll say. And so more to come on that as we learn more from potential funding sources, in particular from the state.
And if you would like to hear more exciting details about the presentation you just saw, the facilities meeting, it will be held at the high school on the 17th at 5:30. And just for note, and you know, probably already know this, but all of the committee meetings are open to the public, and you are very welcome to join us in those meetings. Anyone else?
Academics, not gonna meet till whatever the date of the fourth Wednesday, 10:30. 26th, 25th, okay, 25th, which will be the day after our next board meeting here.
Anyone else? Policy?
I don't know when the next meeting is, but.
Okay.
Why isn't policy on there? That's the old one.
Policies, fourth, third, wait, policies, third Thursday, right, Wendy?
The 19th.
Policy
19th at 1.
19th at 1.
is, yeah, so if you want to fix that, guys, it's always the third Thursday at 1 for the rest of the year.
Thank you. And so we'll move on to our student board representatives report. And I understand we have a new student board representative, and we'll let Riley introduce her. Come on. Both set to Mike.
So I'm a proud big sister right now. Mary is in FBLA. She's awesome. So guys, this is Mary Slaughterbeck. She is a sophomore and she's decided to join the craziness and be here when I'm not here. And she will be a great addition. She's awesome. She brings a lot to the table. And she's feisty. She has that redheaded feistiness about her. She's awesome. All right. Any company. Okay, so first, just giving an update. So the class of 2026 is going to be showing the movie Ice Age on the 27th and 28th of this month. So for children, it's going to be $7, so that's like under 10. And then everyone else gets in for $10. So come out and support the class of 2026. And then FBLA did have their Region 26 awards last night. So we did do good. We have 9 people qualifying. So out of those 9 people, we have 7 of them got first place in their events. So that is very impressive. I'm very proud of everyone. They did great. So some of the final, so we have Colby Weibel, Haley DeLauder, Alexia Menser, Brenna Nadio, Jordan Banky, Hannah Height, Sadie Hall, Nicholas Pelosi, and Madeline Ruffel. So they are some of the ones that are going to the States. And then we also are bringing our reports to the state level. So we'll also be having some more people tagging along with that. Student council is going to go to the homeless shelter on the 25th of February as part of our giving back to the community and our community service project. So we're going to be preparing a meal. Right now it's looking like spaghetti and salad. So who doesn't love that? And then also the gymnastics meets has their home meet on Thursday. So that's going to be their senior night. If you guys want to come out and support, the meet starts at 6. And then as Valentine's Day is approaching, so is the love and the couples and all the fun. So FBLA is doing chocolate covered strawberries and flowers. So that's going to be exciting to see that and all the love be shown. And then the last day of the semester is next Thursday, the 19th. I'm halfway through and then I'm out. But no, just kidding. I'm sad. It's a lot of sadness. But that's all I have for you guys tonight.
Thank
Good,
you.
thank you.
Welcome. Mary.
Welcome, Mary.
Okay, so let's move on to
Very-
business. We'll first start with student waivers. Dr. Sternahan.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Recommendation is to approve the student waivers as discussed in executive session.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, thank you. And next we have personnel.
Thank you. I'd like to direct your attention to personnel item. Board docs, we have resignation of support staff. I was asked, I'm not sure if we could do here, if I change resignation date effective December 20th, not 14th for Darlene Daywalt. We make that adjustment acceptable. We have additional resignation of support staff, resignation of coaching staff, resignation of advisory staff, reassignment of support staff, appointments of support staff, additional appointments of support staff, appointments of before and after school, including para educators, as well as a number of our student workers that will be assisting with our before and after school programs, appointments of game personnel, appointments of Act 91 monitors. Continuing then into the agenda, we have resignation of support staff, resignation of coaching staff, appointment of support staff substitute. Continuing then, we have several leaves for approval. And we have the appointment of two professional educators. One individual is a contracted position, Meg Diller, and the other individual is an LTS. It is Kevin Funkhauser. Recommendation is to approve as listed.
Okay, can we get a motion to approve the personnel as listed?
Move to approve with the one date amendment.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Second.
Discussion, questions? All those in favor? Oppose? Okay. Move on to bus drivers.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have several drivers here from our contractors as well as for the district. They passed all their requisite background check information with insurance. So we're asking for approval, please.
Okay, so can we get a motion to approve bus van drivers as listed?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any questions? Discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Those opposed?
Thank you.
So now we're down to faculty and staff dress code.
Okay, I'm not sure, but I'll take it. I believe there's a recommendation here for the staff, faculty and staff dress code. It's been worked on quite some time. I don't know if Mrs. Zimmerman has anything to add to that one.
No, they're looking at this, there's just some very minor punctuation type things that will be changed, but absolutely nothing within the content at all. So
Okay.
I would move to approve this dress code.
I
As
will
written.
second.
Okay, any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. for discussion, Waynesboro Area's Senior High School 23-24 course guide.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I do have Dr. McCallum in the audience. So she would, if there are any specific questions, as I indicated in my Friday folder, if you would like a hard copy of the course selection guide, we will definitely make sure that have access to that. This is at this point just a review and a discussion. I know the high school administration, along with the academic committee, have worked very hard. And so I believe from a timetable perspective, Dr. McCallum, are we looking for approval at the January 24th meeting to be able then to start utilizing it and make sure that our students have access?
I have a question. What courses have been eliminated from that? Have there been? I mean, you might not know off the top of your head.
If you are speaking, could you please come to the podium?
Already ahead of you, Nick. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I can get that from Dr. Kopko. More of what was taking place was combining classes because of our block transition. So there may be some courses that we're running like a half credit, and now we're putting two of them together. There are certain classes that never seem to run. So we talked about taking like a level 3 and a level 4 and a level 5 and just saying advanced, such as materials processing, that a student could take more than one time. That way the teacher can continue doing what they already do, which is differentiating within the class on what the students are doing. But it also helps with, now that we do so much on the computer, when the students are in different course codes, that means the teacher has to manage different sections of Schoology, and like every kid is rostered in Schoology based on their section. So if they're all in the same course code, that's a little bit easier for the teacher and also for Dr. Kopko and I when we're building the schedule over the summer. So, but I will make sure I have that list available.
I was just curious, how about new course?
There are not that many. The one that definitely sticks out, there's 2 of them. We are adding pastry arts within the Family Consumer Science Department. And the other one is AP Seminar. So that is something that the College Board views as a capstone for students who have taken, I can't remember the number, but they have to have taken at least like 4 AP courses. So it's kind of, I would say like a miniature thesis. So Mrs. Beatty will be the instructor for that. So one thing Dr. Sternerheim and I have talked about is that we will need to have a new AP coordinator for next school year, because you cannot be the AP coordinator and teaching a class. So we're hoping that gives the students an opportunity. A lot of our students don't need to have a full schedule to graduate, but they don't necessarily want to leave the building. They, as Riley kind of said, they like being with us, which is awesome. So so we're hoping that kind of gives them a way to expand upon what they've learned and dig deeper into things that they learned that they found to be exciting and interesting. People also like Mrs. Beatty. So
Does the Patriot class need volunteers? The paid section? Asking for a friend. Okay.
So I can get a list of I know the courses that are new are highlighted with an orange marker, because we have to, that's kind of a cue to us that we needed Mrs. McFerrin to make us a new course code. But I don't recall there being any that were cut, like that were like there. There's a technical writing class that no one ever signs up for, so we took that one out. So rather than publishing it every single year and having 3 kids sign up for it. So that one, I know we just talked about that one, but I can't think of any others off the top of my head. So I can get that for you guys for Friday. Yes. Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. We are going to move on to the accelerated budget opt-out resolution.
Thank you, sir. So school districts have kind of one of 2 requirements, so to speak. So each year you have to either present a budget that exceeds the Act 1 index, meaning that you would have to potentially, not that you would, but that you could potentially have to raise your property taxes higher than the inflationary. So that's choice one. Choice two is you can basically approve a resolution that says you will not raise property taxes above that index. The index for this coming year is 5.7%, which is about 6 mils for us. I'm rounding that number. There's some tenths and hundredths in, but that would be the Act One index. Based on our preliminary budget, we would not need the Act One index limit number itself, and we would need much less than that if again the board actually does approve a tax change for next year. At this point, though, by passing this opt-out resolution, you're not approving any tax rates whatsoever for next year. This is just simply saying you will abide by the inflationary number as a school district. So basically, in a sense, you're kind of limiting your taxing authority for next year, or limiting the additional taxes that someone could incur next year.
Move to.
Second.
Questions?
I'll say that's what was one of the encouraging things that came out of our budget discussion yesterday is we don't think we're going to get close to the Act One index. While it says that we could go up as high as 6 mils, that is definitely nowhere near our intention. And so I think that's one of the encouraging things the way for our budget next year is that we see no need to go above the Act One index. We don't see a need to go close to the Act One index, sort of thing. So that's one of the encouraging things that came out of our budget committee meeting yesterday.
And I appreciate those comments. And years ago, of course, oftentimes we wouldn't even start talking about budget until really closer to this March, April, May timeframe. But because we need to be able to provide information to the board and the committees as to whether or not they can stay within the index, we actually have to back that process up a little bit. So that's why in the fall, we're actually putting a preliminary budget together to see where we're going to be for the next year.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, so now intergovernmental cooperation agreement.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So this is the walking path that we have talked about, I think, for a couple of years. So some really positive outcomes have come from this. Sometimes you wait and you get a better product at the end of the day. So I think this is one of those situations. We've been talking about this for quite a while. This would connect to the existing walking path that's on the south side of the property there, where the high school, middle school, and Summit View. And then, of course, that connects into the development right behind there. What this agreement would do is this would agree with the borough to allow the borough to extend it. It would still be our property, but they would extend that trail, that path, right up to the high school itself, kind of moving north to south. Doing that does a couple things. One is it provides more connectivity throughout the community, so people can walk through that area. People who live in that community can also walk over for events if they so desire, or come over for games and things of that nature. Be very close versus trying to drive and park and coming around. The other aspect, and again, there's a benefit to this as well for the district. In addition to that, is that those students could actually then walk to the school. Right now, those students are bused to the school, but it is a very close distance. Obviously, it's parallel. I mean, it's right beside our property itself. So the fact that those students could then also walk to our school would also be a benefit as well. So basically, this intergovernmental agreement, the borough's already approved it. The solicitors from both sides looked at it and reviewed it. We would basically pay the cost plus a percentage markup to the borough to cover their administrative costs and their solicitor costs and such for doing this work.
Do we have a motion to approve the intergovernmental cooperation agreement with the borough of Waynesboro for an extension of the Ed Miller Memorial Trail on district property?
Second.
Questions?
This summer.
Summer?
This summer, yeah,
That would change.
it would be a change here.
Probably 5 years in it.
that we've talked
To
about.
get
Oh.
here.
Yeah.
Now, COVID delay, I get that.
Okay, all those in favor?
I,
Any opposed?
Thank you.
And next, second reading of policies.
All right, there are 3 policies here we ask that you approve. They've had some tweaks to them. I believe these were in front of you maybe November. But for the first reading, was it November or October? I know it's been a while.
Yeah, the first reading, I believe, was in November.
Yeah, and so anyhow, we're asking for your approval of those 3 policies.
So motion to approve the second reading of policies 201, 204.1, and 702.
Move to approve second reading.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank you.
And now overnight trip. All right.
Procedure, I'm asking the board to approve a overnight trip that occurred last week.
Good. Motion to approve gymnastics overnight trip.
Move to approve.
Second.
Questions?
So there was no cost involved to us. Is that correct?
I believe.
Probably
the-
transportation.
Or the transportation we pay?
Um,
I mean, in terms of I would have to get back to the specifics,
Well, I just looked at under estimated cost. It doesn't say additional costs.
district was to pay for hotel, district did pay an entry fee, including the academics, and it's sort of highlighted there, so I'd have to get more specifics.
Okay, entry fee, okay. That was already in the budget, okay. Yeah, gymnastics pays for almost everything they do anyway. I'd be
Yeah.
surprised if they,
Well, is it
Ask.
I'd have to get more details, if you're ever at a home. Are they called meets?
Meets.
Meets, if you're at home meet, it's everything, and then in some cases, when you travel, it's a smaller group, so I have to clarify it. That is what happens. Okay, thank you, if they took a van or they. took a-
I said they took 2 vans, right? Because I was wondering like, how could they get
Yeah.
all those kids in it?
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
did not take the whole team.
okay.
The district grants would be probably the least expensive method for us.
Right, right, yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just real quick, did they do well? Did they have fun? Since it already happened? Do we know?
I know they did well.
Okay,
I'm not sure how many teams have gymnastics.
okay.
How about it,
That's fine.
Riley? What happened?
Yes, live.
Not used to having a mic. So I have a friend on the gymnastics team and she was talking about how it was like at the moon. So I don't know what the moon is, but I was gonna say it's in Pittsburgh. So I think it's a
Yeah.
big thing that they held it. And they had
Township.
judges that were from there and they said that they did well. They had fun. They got like third or second place. So they were,
Good.
so they did good and they had fun. They were a little upset with
I
themselves.
still would have approved even if they didn't do well, but they did do well.
Yes. So it's worth it.
Good.
Okay, all right, so motion carries. Transit van food services. Scotsman?
Thanks, sir. So the current vehicle that they're using to move food, we do a lot of moving food for delivery. So we actually deliver to some pre-K programs in the area. We use this vehicle to often do deliveries for the summer food program. The vehicle's 30 years old. It's seen better days. So what we're thinking is that, yeah, it has some age on it. I think sometimes, it passes inspection, but it's really reaching the end of its useful life. So what they would like to do is purchase probably a used transit van. They don't need anything new. I'm putting kind of a higher number up there just because vehicles are still, it's tough to find in many cases, but what we would do is try to work, obviously, we typically start with our local companies in the area to see what they would have available. But the funds would come from food service, and basically we replace that 30-year-old vehicle.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the purchase of a used transit van for food services department at a cost not to exceed $35,000 and funds to be provided by the food services account.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, questions?
So when we talk about rotating and buying a new vehicle every year, this is one of the vehicles that are in our fleet, but it was not the one we thought we'd have to replace this year. Is that correct? Or
That's
was
correct. What we have is we had we have 2 older vehicles we'd like to go ahead and replace this year. That used more so by the maintenance side and such. So what we would do is we would replace them with student vehicles that those would be pushed in. But those other vehicles will be on the maintenance and district side. Yeah, she's had this need for a while, it's just.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, Mr. Holtzman? All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Okay, thank you, Mr. Holtzman. MOU Act 55 with WIN.
Thank you. As a result of Act 55, which essentially was passed in October of 2022, it has a whole series of things that school districts have to comply with. One of the things that both the state and I had discovered just this fall is that we were to have a memorandum of agreement. And so as a result of that, this is the memorandum of agreement that we have established with WIN. And I want to go on record that we are the only school in Franklin County that has a meeting split. After we've done some research, so others will probably be following suit shortly.
All right, thank you. So do you have a motion to approve the MOU with WIN in regards to Act 55?
Move to approve.
second,
Questions?
just in case everybody doesn't know, it's Women in Need is what WIN is. Yeah.
Thank you. All those in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Thank you. And now Family Consumer Science Cabinets. Ms. Holtzman?
So Family Consumer Science, as you're aware that this room is progressing, getting very close to being used, will be used here very shortly, even though we will not have the cabinets in that time. It's in fact their lead time for the cabinets, but this was one of the final pieces to this. We did go out and obtain several different quotes and bids. This happened to be the lowest one. In terms of our product, it's a local company as well, so to speak, it's in Franklin County. But we did even go out to Lowe's and some other companies as well. The pricing was about 10 grand more with the other companies. So we were kind of pleased that they came in with a little bit of a lower price.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the purchase of cabinets for the Family Consumer Science classroom at a cost of $26,238?
Move to approve.
second,
Any other questions?
So when are they thinking then this work would be done? Because this has to be in that room, come change the classes, and then when will the cabinets be done?
I could get confirmation. I don't have
Okay,
because I think we're waiting on approval before they get to make sure that.
okay. Well, how's she gonna store stuff? I mean,
She does have opera.
she does have opera cabinets.
Right, in the back area, I'm sorry. The back area.
I haven't been in there for a week. The last time I saw it was drywall. That was like more than a week ago.
I was trying to think of the other area.
Yeah,
There's some.
we've talked about. Okay.
Okay, we did make sure that we did notify the administration a couple of weeks ago that we knew these would not be in time to start the actual class.
Well, we should have a ribbon cutting ceremony because after 10 years, however many years it's been, we've actually restored our 3 family consumer science people back to what it was before everything got cut. So. Right. Not really just.
very happy, yay for us.
I'm very happy to see that.
I'd like to comment that this bid came in lowest, and according to what you said, Mr. Holtzman, substantially lower, but this man has done work for us and it is quality work. So
I'm familiar with the company too as well. So,
Yes.
and we had actually, when we were looking at this, we reached out to many companies that we included specifically.
Mhm.
Very curious before we get them back.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. So all those in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Okay. Now our health and safety plan.
That would be me.
Okay.
As I've told you in the past, the health and safety plan is required to be reapproved by the board every 6 months. That requirement has been changed. So at this point, and we have made no changes to the health and safety plan, but we are required to bring it back and at least present it to the board. So that's why you have it in front of you. We've made no changes. We have no other recommendations. We've removed a lot of barriers and restraints that were there during COVID. They're pretty much all gone. I just wanted to make sure we meet the requirement and make sure you all see it and have it in front of you. So unless you have any concerns, this is as far as it has to go.
Okay. Any questions about our health and safety plan? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Klein. Next, we move to our LIU 23-24 general operating budget.
Sure, yes, and thank you. So each year, a requirement is for the school districts that are in the meeting unit to approve the general operating budget. There's really kind of two pieces to this budget when you think about it. One is more of a fixed cost, and it's a very small amount that really kind of remove that fixed cost and make it a very small piece. For us, it really doesn't change, but maybe $4 from last year to this year. It's less than $6,000. The rest of that budget that you're approving is really more of the flexible to a certain extent, meaning what services you're using from the value itself. So effectively, you're improving the value budget, but you're not necessarily getting yourself at the stage of force to using that value services maybe. That would be certainly education department and administration.
Okay. Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the LIU 23-24 general operating budget?
Move to approve.
Second.
Questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And now our 339 plan. One.
So essentially, the presentation was conducted earlier this evening. About the counselors did an outstanding job, and so the information is listed there. So I believe the recommendation is to approve the 339 plan as about the WASD counselors on the design and leadership of the students.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, and now. Let's check that, WAM's art room cabinets. Rosemary?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah, sorry, it doesn't matter.
Yes, 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 yes.
Part of this coming to fruition. Middle school art room cabinets, these are just base cabinets, not the upper cabinets. The upper cabinets are going to stay in place. We replaced several of these a couple of years ago, due to water damage and deterioration in age. They are original to the building, the 70-71 era. So they're about 50-some years old. But the remaining ones in there are the same problem. We're having some water issues and some, condition issues with those. Some indoor air quality issues as well as some of those. So what we did is we went out and worked with the art teacher, worked with the maintenance department, and worked with the vendor who had replaced the other cabinets in that area as well. So we could have a little bit of continuity with that issue. And so we're coming back with this report here to go ahead and replace the remaining ones on the floor. We would also, there's going to be some other additional small costs here that will replace some of the cabinets that have a sink with just a kind of laundry style sink. And that way we don't have water dripping down into a sink that nobody ever sees. We talked to the art teacher, I think she actually staff about having those, which the ones we have today. But that'll be a very small number of costs that we can do themselves.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve replacing the WAM's art room floor level cabinets with Tanner furniture at the cost of $15,349.15?
Move to approve, finally.
Second.
Any questions about from Mr. Holtzman?
Do we need a ribbon cutting at this one too?
Just think about that. It's been- What about the science cabinets? They never got replaced yet either. Some of the science.
That's agenda. No, the science rooms.
Yeah, in the middle
Oh,
school,
we did do some painting, I think, and refinishing in those areas. I think that there was more.
because they were kind of like, some of them were.
I think we did succeed. Right.
Okay.
We can certainly revisit some of that.
I can't remember.
Okay, wow. Good stuff. Any other questions? Okay. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And down to our financial business section, Mr. Holtzman.
Thank you. For our tax bills, which are very important, come July 1. what we're doing is we're having Chambersburg printers guilds now. If you remember, we changed that process for the current year. We used to have another third party do that, another vendor contractor. Now we're using Chambersburg to do the actual printing of the bills. They actually print bills for everybody, using their facility. But they're unable to, at this stage, to do a sealer and then mail them out directly. So what we're doing here is we went out and received I think we received two different ones. This is the lowest one. Two different quotes to basically take those bills and then go ahead and fold them, insert them and then mail them out for us here at the beginning of July. So that's the request we're asking for. We're obviously doing this early so that we know we have a process in place and then ready to go. In some cases, and they some paper on a little challenge, but they happen to be a challenge. So at least knowing where we're going to have this work done will help some really time perspective.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the quote from J&M Printing to fold, stop, and mail our real estate bills for the 2023-24 tax year.
Second.
Questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. And then purchase orders and bills for payment.
Yes, sir. These are just the normal checks for cafeteria as well as what the mission described. As you notice, it's one format now, and using this new SCU, which we approved a few months ago. It's a great system now. We can actually scan in quotes and invoices, do this in a much better electronic manner, use a routing approval process, and then it makes it much easier for our perspective. Next year, when this is fully rolled out, the auditors will actually be able to go in if they want to see what the bill looks like. They'll have a read-only access. They can go right into the system and see what the bill looks like. They want to verify that process. So we're very pleased. It's a much better process. This Truax and the Sanders have been just doing a phenomenal job with this. And I should also say, probably it's very well, all its size and technology.
So
It has been. They've done a great job.
Ribbon cutting.
right, yeah, a lot of celebrations tonight. Motion to approve the purchase orders and bills for payment as listed.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Mr. Host. And now for Clayton cabinet comments.
Well, I'm going to start. And first of all, I'm going to thank the board. This is actually my last board meeting, so I'm excited about that. And I think my wife's more excited about it. So, anyhow, after so many years of so many meetings, but I wanted to thank the board for your support over the years. I want to, certainly thank our staff and our administrative team and our parents, our kids, and community for all the support over the last few years. I did want to ask a question to the two board members that are left that actually hired me, I guess. Well, they interviewed me, I guess, sometime in around December and November of 2016, I guess. So, what? Three members. Yeah. So, and I asked a question of you, and I think I asked everyone later, is that what the significance of the year 2036 was on that day, which at that time, do you remember?
It's when the kids that were born were graduating.
Yes, yeah, I did say, I said that, and they didn't know at the time. Nobody knew at the time. You had a lot of good guesses, but it wasn't and I said that, it would be that particular day that most of those kids would, likely graduate on the year 2036. And I said, if we're not thinking about that, we're not doing our jobs. And I think over the last few years, we've been doing a lot of those things to try to think about that. So I'm very proud of the board, our administrative team, and also our staff for moving us at least closer to those things. And the irony of all of that is, if you look at the kindergarten registration, guess what class is registering this year? Class is, 2036.
It's just wrapping up
It
tonight.
is, yeah, it really is. But
Make me cry. Stop.
But anyhow, I do want to thank everybody and also, I think you're in really good hands. I think Dr. Sterner Hein is a stronger candidate than most new superintendents. And just, that's not because you've been around me. No. It's just, I think that she has done a great job and I think you'll be in good hands as you move forward. And I wish the district the best. And I'm going to remind you, if you remember, aside from seeing that date of 71, I was a student in that building when it opened up at the middle school. So I would have been there when those cabinets were brand new. But anyhow, and my wife was at some of you when it opened up. Now, please remember, we didn't know each other then. So, but anyhow, with all that in mind, this room was my first grade classroom. So I'm going to be leaving out of here, starting the same place, ending the same place I started. I think I had Mrs. Walker for first grade. So, and I had to sit in the front of the class because the blackboard was up there. And so was George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. So, anyhow, but thank you.
Dr. Klein, you're missing a fabulous slideshow.
Oh,
Senior.
that would have been when I was a junior. Yeah.
Good at stats.
Can you tell I was 80s? Yeah.
You forgot to do it.
See, I probably shouldn't have made the some of you comment.
Laura's been waiting patiently as I've been texting her as updates as we part of the agenda. So at this point, the Waynesboro Area School District, the Board of Directors, the administrative team and the Clayton team, as well as the members here that have been working with you here at Clayton Avenue, would like to present a gift in honor of your retirement. I have to say it's been a privilege to work with you for the last 5.5 years. Thank you for tolerating me.
You gotta say that to Eric too.
He's stuck with me at this point.
He's
So-
got 10, 11 years to go.
Like right here, Todd, this is when we first met.
Yes.
So at any rate,
Wow.
we have been completely blessed to have an amazing supportive school board, amazing admin team, teachers, support staff, and we have been able to do so much in the last 5.5 years. When I start thinking, off the top of my head, like Dr. Klein's vision of pre-K, check. Dr. Klein's vision of a full day kindergarten with developmental play, check. Dr. Klein's vision of a K-12 program that will really meet the needs of students who've been traumatized, check. Dr. Klein's vision of a program to help post-COVID, as I like to refer to it now, students who are struggling through the Boost program, check. And then all through it, he also managed through probably the most challenging situation we've ever endured in public education as the pandemic coordinator. And so
I needed a full psychological done for that one.
with that being said, also, having the privilege and the honor of and the support of the board and the community, and we stayed open. And we were here for our students and we were committed. And even though we quarantined every couple days, it seemed like. And again, it's just been an amazing privilege. I thank you for giving me the opportunity of being your assistant, and I'm thanking the board moving forward for their opportunity and I can continue. And obviously I will continue to contact Dr. Klein for advice. I think it's interesting. I have to put a comment. At one point, I was referred to as Dr. Sterner Klein. So you want to make sure that everybody knows that we're not married. We had a delightful presentation to pre-K, invited us over for a celebration, and we do have a short video that I can put. I'm not sure if I'll put it in the Friday
Okay.
folder. But they had us sit in these 2 special chairs and they sang a beautiful song for Dr. Klein and wishing him goodbye, and it was nice that Sterner Hein rhymed nicely, because then they were welcoming me as well. So at this point, Dr. Klein, if you'd like to come forward, we'll have the big unveiling. And we are so excited to have Rona here with us. Thank you for sharing Todd with us for the last 5.5 years. We know the man is a workaholic. And so he's looking for them.
The last couple of weeks. You've been doing.
All right, so we have to stand over here. And you have, look, these are like so many interesting photos. I'm not gonna show you all of them, but there's actually a really cool photo that we gave him the glasses, because Dr. Klein is colorblind. And we gave him glasses right here. So I'm not sure who was all in the office, but it was quite an interesting experience.
I didn't like it. Laura kept telling me, why don't you buy the glasses? I said, I don't like that. I'm not used to it after 60-something years.
Yeah. All right, so on behalf of the school board, the admin, and the Clayton staff here, we'd like to present you, I don't know if you want to just. We have, and I'm still bossing. Here you go.
Oh, wow.
It's a new podium for the boardroom, and there's a. Oh, we're gonna work it. Nick, I've consulted, so Nick and I know how we're gonna be able to work it, but we have a plaque. So moving forward, anyone presenting in the Waynesboro Area School District will have to see dedicated to Todd Klein. We're supposed to have an F in there, but superintendent 2017, 2023 Borough Strong. That one. So in terms of the setup, we think the podium will eventually be here with a nice microphone, and anyone who's speaking gets recognized.
About my taxes.
Thank you, Dr. Klein. Appreciate everything that you've done for the district. And enjoy your retirement.
It's lovely. It really is. Yeah, it really is.
That's very nice.
This weekend.
I don't know who got the idea, but it's neat.
Excited, and then.
That's so neat.
You know, there's.
I'm super excited.
But I believe it's on the 20th. So that's our annual community event to encourage school spirit and support our girls and boys basketball team. So that is great.
Thank you.
And I also plan to attend Carnegie Hall.
Okay, so board comments?
Dr. Klein, I know how much you like to do Greencastle. Basketball, we beat them in overtime JV, and we're winning 23-20 at the half.
All right.
I have two quick comments. One, just to thank the counselors, all the counselors in the district. As you saw from their presentation, they do a lot of work. I thought one of the most telling comments is that it was really hard to put on a piece of paper what they do, because they come in and they do what's in front of them each day. And what's in front of them each day is a monumental task. And so just a great thank you to them and the work that they're doing for our students. The second thing I also want to thank and highlight Mr. Keith McCrae. I also serve on the Chamber Foundation Board, which is an affiliate of the Chambersburg Chamber of Commerce. And I joined that board just recently, and they have nothing but compliments to say about Mr. McCrae. They run an EITC grant, which is the Technology Innovation Grant, and Mr. McCrae is a 2-time award winner of it. And they say he's great at writing grants for it. And so they were wondering if he could teach others how to write a grant like he does. And they also had an opportunity to visit our district and see the work that he's doing with our students, and they were just astounded. And so just a great compliment to Mr. McCrae, and just the knowledge that Chambersburg is jealous of what we have. I think it was a great compliment to the work our teachers are doing, and the work that he is doing, in particular, integrating technology with our students.
He's one of mine from Wilson.
There you go.
Mm.
We're thanking Mrs. Sullivan for Mr. McCrae.
That's it's Megan.
Mhm. Any other board?
Well, I was gonna say that Chambersburg, is probably wishing they had our superintendent as well as, no offense to the Chambersburg superintendent, but I just want to speak a little bit about, Todd here for a second. That, Bonnie and Cindy and I were the only three, when he was still employed at that time. That, you know, when we knew that he was going to apply, I had worked with Todd at the high school. Cindy, did you work with him?
Elementary Maori.
Okay, elementary Maori. And well, there's a whole story. Todd's such a laid back guy that when he started as a high school assistant principal, I'm like, this guy gonna be able to handle these kids, but it did a phenomenal job. Just, you know, everybody appreciated what he did. Then he moved on to bigger and better things up to Chambersburg. But I made a list when we hired him called the Todd list. So I haven't checked my boxes yet, Rita, but that's one of the things that I'm going to do, of the things that I was hoping to see once he was here. So we'll have to have lunch and look at my Todd list.
Sounds good.
That we met beforehand. And I just am so grateful and so happy to have been able to work with you, Todd. And it's been a real privilege, as Rita said, but also for me and the board. And the fact that, you know, the leadership, you know, this board is, as most people know, we get along very well. Not that we agree with everything, but we get along very well. But I think under leadership of a superintendent that treated us the way that you did, with personal attention and great communication, that just enhanced that. So thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you.
We are very appreciative. We just have a little card for you here, but
Thank you.
It's been my pleasure to work with you.
I have a great board. I don't know what else to say. And I think everybody around us is jealous, so.
Any other board members? Yes.
I think it would be nice of us to put together a document of this accomplishments.
Hmm.
And put it on the
Good idea.
website.
I don't need them for a resume.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Laura didn't say no, you don't.
Oh,
Yeah, she's like,
Yeah, I mean, although, you know, it takes everybody to make things happen, Dr. Quinn, I think we can add to that, you know, the restoration of family consumer science, we can add to that. I'd love to know how many professional positions we've added. You know, over time, the raises we've been able to support staff, as well as an extended contract. That Dr. Sternerline, you know, enters her tenure with, you know, with our teachers. And also getting us back onto block scheduling.
Yeah.
And I just want to also thank Dr. McCallum and her staff and her teachers, having them come and work it with to come off the block. I imagine it might have been more work to get back onto the block. And I don't think anyone can possibly understand the countless hours of figuring that it takes you to do that. So please, it's the thanks to your staff.
Yes.
Anyone else? I just want to simply say, thank you for your service. You know, and usually people say that when they're referring to people in the military or whatever, but those of us who work in public education know that it's a fight.
It is.
And so one of the things I tell students all the time is, one of my favorite quotes is, if you see a good fight, get in it. And you have to preface that, you know, with kids. But it is a fight, and you've chosen to do it for over 35 plus
Yeah, almost 36 years.
years. And so we appreciate that, and advocating for the students here in this district and wherever you've been advocating for students. And so on behalf of the board of directors, we wish you well in your retirement, and always welcome to come back and join us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Any other? Okay, so this meeting is adjourned. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank
That
you.
was
We-
easily-